It's good to have you join us on today's episode of the program Environment and You on Independent Television, Abuja. I am your regular host, Catherine Eyemese. The program Environment and You is a platform where we discuss environmental issues with the help of environmentalists, thereby giving awareness, creating awareness and educating the public on possible solutions to environmental issues, what and what should be done and what shouldn't be done to ensure a safer environment for us all. It is on this note that we shall be discussing a topic, climate change, the effect and possible solutions. Of course, I have with me a guest in the house. I will not be doing this alone. He is an environmentalist and the person of Mr. Ken Ajim. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
All right, before we go into the program proper, let's quickly go on a short break, and when we come back, the program continues shortly. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is still the program Environment and You on Independent Television, Abuja. And before we went on that break, I told you that this topic of discussion today shall be climate change, the causes and effects and possible solutions. And I also told you that I have with me a guest in the house who shall be doing justice to the topic of discussion today in the person of Mr. Ajim Ken. Once again, welcome to the program.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. Going into the program, sir, can you give us a quick enlightenment into the topic of discussion, climate change? When you talk about climate change, what should come to our mind?
Thank you so much. Once again, it's my pleasure to be here. Climate change, we will start by, first of all, letting our viewers to know what exactly do we mean when we say climate change. And climate change is the change, the slight change in the temperature and weather patterns over a long period of time. And that's it doesn't happen on its own. It is something that is mostly anthropogenic. I mean, human activities relate to that. Then if I may go a step further to let them understand why this topic is very vital and very important, especially at the moment like this where the entire world is quite confronted with the effects of climate change. It became a serious issue of concern at global stage where in 2014 the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change Conference met in Paris in 2014, precise, if I'm correct, 2014, yeah, and came up with that was in COP21, and came up with the Climate Change Agreement, which is the only legal international treaty binding on climate change, where 195 nations or parties of the world are signatory to this body, for which our dear country, Nigeria, is also signatory to that. So and that came up to bring up a community of people coming together to look at climate change as a context, its problem, and the consequence effect of what we are facing today. So let me stop here for now.
All right, thank you very much. Also, when we talk about climate change, is there any relationship between climate change and global warming? Any relationship between the two?
Yes, I will say yes and I will say no.
Okay.
In the sense, yes, in the sense that in some cases there are cases where climate change is used interchangeably with global warming. Okay. But climate change is the resultant effect of global warming.
Okay. Okay.
Global warming is the warming of our climate, of our planet over a period of time. Now, that effect is now what results. The resultant effect of this global warming is what will result to climate change. Okay. It can cause variations in the changes of climate and patterns, for which the place, our environment becomes too hot, affecting a lot of lives, plants, and virtually cascading to every aspect of our life. So if you say it is the same, you are not wrong. If you say there are little differences, it is not also wrong, but they go hand in hand. It is the resultant effect of global warming that we have climate change.
All right, from what you said earlier on, you said climate change happens as a result of human activities.
Yeah.
Now, what are those activities and how does it affect humans and the environment at large?
Okay, thank you so much. I will use you just as a quick example, especially that for ladies. It is some of our personal practices, lifestyle, that result to climate change. Let me use a very close example. Probably when you are brushing, when you are brushing your teeth in the morning, and probably there's a mirror just in your bathroom. So while you are brushing, you just leave the tap running, and you are brushing. You are just looking at your face, looking at the mirror, and all that. The tap is running, or you just, well, because of our erratic power supply, you put on all the lights in your house over the night, and you wake up in the morning. You do not switch them off, because you want to know when there is light and when the light has gone off. Yeah. Now, all of these things has cascading effect and contributing to climate change. Also, our transport, method of movement. Before I came to the studio, ordinarily, probably if there was, I drove a car, and if you had to come here, you drove. If the other person, the cameraman, is to come here, he drove. So all of these are emitting carbons, which contribute, who are the major causes of global warming and climate change. So human activities, farming, industrialization, housing, you name them, they are all activities that are contributing to climate change. So human or anthropogenic activities have contributed or are the major cause for climate change. Okay,
you talked about so many people having vehicles driving on the road, and that is one of the results, one of the causes of climate change by the gas emission. Now, is it advisable? Are you saying that it is not advisable for people to own cars or to even drive?
Intelligent question. Intelligent question. Now, there is a way that can be done. For instance, where you have a mass transit system, where everybody don't need to drive their cars, where one car can take 50 persons, 100 persons, or 70 persons, as the case may be. Now, if that is in place, that will reduce me driving, you driving, and the other person driving. And also, if the cars we are using can be electric cars, where instead of buying fuel, PMS, you rather will go for where you just charge your car. That is with little or zero emission. So in that same case, it's not like people should, life must go on, people must live their lives. But it's not like people shouldn't drive. But there are practices where, as you are driving, instead of we having vehicles where everybody has to drive because there's no mass transit in place, if we can have mass transit or have electric cars where people can rather drive on those ones, that will be better.
Okay, I'm talking about things to do to curb climate change. What is your assessment when it comes to government putting measures in place to address the issue of climate change?
Thank you so much. I started in the introduction to say the Paris Agreement came in place because parties or Committee of Nations came together to agree that this thing is a problem, it's a global problem that is facing us, and we had to do something. And the COP26, which held in Glasgow, Scotland, last year, 2021, the president of Nigeria was also in that conference, and he made a presentation for which Nigeria made a commitment to cut down its emission by 2060 to a zero level.
It's not all about holding meetings. It is not all about making commitments. It is not all about making promises, but to ensure that those commitments, those promises comes into play, into reality. Do you see all these meetings to address climate change? Do you see it coming into reality?
Yes. The President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, just after that conference last year, in November 15th or so, last year, he signed into law the bill for climate change, and that has created a room for climate change to become more broadened. Then it has also shown that Nigeria is also serious in that regard. Then also it has also created a room where we'll now have the National Council for Climate Change. that also will be a platform where issues of climate change can now be discussed.
Okay.
And government has also gone a long way in creating an alternative means of energy, which is renewable energy, solar. And government has done so much in that regard to also make an abridged process for mini-grids projects, I mean renewable projects, where they do not go through the full EIA process. They just have to do an abridged system to encourage this renewable energy to come in place. So government is actually committed to that. Seriously, I must tell you.
All right. All right. It's still the program Environment and You on Independent Television, Abuja, and it's been Mr. Ken Ajim doing justice to the topic of discussion, climate change, what causes climate change, and the possible remedies to ensure that the effect of climate change is brought to a minimal or to be eradicated if possible. We'll quickly go on a short break. When we come back, the program continues. Stay with us. Welcome back. That was a video, a documentary on climate change. Now to you, Mr. Ken, how would you analyze that documentary?
Thank you so much once again. We could see from the video that we just finished watching, climate change is a global problem, but its approach is local, and its impact also starts from local to the global stage. From the video that we just watched, we could see Africans, we could see flooding in Africa, we could see a lot of issues. I would probably, if I watch that video to the end, we might see a place where probably we might see issues of food crisis and all of that.
Exactly.
Now, these are the cascading effects of climate change. No matter how you try to deny or to argue with it, climate change is telling to us to our face. Look at what is happening in Kentucky, where the flood in the city is something else, the loss of lives and everything. And that was a country where the former president said climate change was a scam. But today, you do not need anybody to tell you there are erratic rainfall patterns in our country today. It is difficult now to tell somebody that our rainy seasons are from this month to this month. Because if you say in Abuja, for instance, that the rainy season starts from probably May and it goes by October, you may just be surprised that we're in December and it is raining. You may just be surprised that in January you see rainfalls. Even in March, at times, you could just see rainfalls. So it becomes even difficult for us to predict our weather pattern because there are alterations. Yes. All of these are effects of climate change. Now, to us as individuals, what do we do? Like I said, it's a global problem that must start with a local approach.
Okay.
Now, in our individual homes, when we want to buy appliances, we should buy energy efficiency appliances.
Okay.
Now, when you want to buy bulbs or lights, it's better you buy LED lights where you do not consume a lot of energy. Then we must reduce, everybody hates or love to hate the practices that will minimize climate change impact. Like if you ask somebody to don't drive, walk, right? Instead of you taking a bike or taking what we call the tricycle, popularly known as the keke napep here, and we say no, why not trek to this place instead of you using your car or your bike, your own motorcycle. Everybody finds it difficult to do that. But all of these exercises or approaches are things that we have to take as individual, knowing that it begins with me. What I do also contributes or help in reducing the impact of climate change, especially in this part of our world. What we are doing is purely adaptation, because we do not have the resources to do mitigation. But the developed economies like America and China, Germany, those ones, their approach to climate change is mitigation measures because they are the heavily industrialized nations, and we are at the receiving end from this part of the world. So you do your part, I do my part, then everything cumulatively will come to the
It is a holistic approach.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Ken, and I most appreciate you for being on the program today.
Thank you.
I believe it is an educative session for us and even the viewers out there. And this is where we wrap up the program for today, Environment and You on Independent Television, Abuja. Next week is another day for another interesting package of the program. And until then, remember that cleanliness is next to godliness, and ensuring a cleaner and a safer environment for all is a holistic one. It is a responsibility of individuals, governments, NGOs, name it. I must thank you for being there for us today. Join us again same time next week. I remain your host, Catherine Eyemese. Bye for now.